Dear Wanderbot, our company needs your help. From Razor Company Manager at Razor.com via Centrum.cz on Wednesday. To me, I'm glad to see you. I'm PR Manager of Razor. You can check that this email came from the official domain of our site, so we're not scammers. If you want to advertise our product, write to our manager on WhatsApp for faster communication. What? No! Way no! First off, you're not real! This email isn't real! This is from Razor.com via Centrum.cz. That's not how this works. Okay, we need to unpack this, and it's gonna take a bit. So like almost everyone on the internet, I get a lot of spam emails. Probably more than most, since I have a very public-facing email address and have probably ended up on dozens of spam lists as a result. But still, it wasn't ever unmanageable. Not until about 2020. Back in June of last year, I got an email, which isn't terribly noteworthy since I get dozens of emails on a daily basis, but this one was special. It was a sponsored series request for an upcoming game called Slormancer, which I'm rather excited for. So of course I immediately responded with a, yes, absolutely, I cannot wait to play your game. And then I gave them my usual prices for sponsored videos, stream, combination of both, etc. Within, I'd say an hour or so, they got back to me accepting the price, which was pretty fast, but not outlandishly so. And then they sent the game as a zip file, which is about the biggest, brightest, most attention-grabbing red flag that could possibly be raised. Basic system security advice that everyone with access to a computer should follow. Do not open a zip file from people that you do not know. And even if you do know them, beware any suspicious and unsolicited zip files that are ever sent your way, because you have no idea what's in them until you open them, and by that point, it's way too late. So anyway, I immediately popped onto the Slormancer Discord and messaged the developers, asking them if they or someone representing them had contacted me. Within a few hours, I had my answer. No, absolutely not, and that there's still a fair amount of time away from release. Which meant that whoever had contacted me was fake, and the zip file they had sent me was probably a virus. And that was just the start. Over the last year, I've received hundreds of emails in increasing quantity and of varying qualities, offering me sponsorship opportunities, brand deals, dodgy ad integrations, and more. It's gotten to the point where a solid third of the emails in my inbox, not my spam folder, are either scams, spam, or both, and I had to ask Shell to help keep my inbox clean so I can properly do my job.
Hypothetically, what could have happened if you had opened up that zip file?
Well, there are countless potential possibilities, anywhere from stealing my financial information, personal details, locking my data and holding it for ransom, or just wrecking my PC for the fun of it. I'm not a system security specialist, so I really honestly don't know. There's one possibility that is way more likely than the rest though, and that is that they were likely phishing for my YouTube channel login information, either by snagging my password and hoping that I don't have two-factor authentication, or more insidiously by taking my login cookie and using it to pretend to be me remotely. At least that's how my friend got hit in a near identical scam for a completely different game and what he thinks happened to him. This isn't an uncommon thing either. There have been a handful of other YouTubers caught up in the scam with near identical results. If the scammers had gotten access to my channel, they would have had a short window of time to change my passwords, change my recovery information, and effectively lock me out of taking my account back for quite some time. Even at their absolute fastest, it still takes YouTube about a week to recover hacked accounts, and the damage that can be done in that time can absolutely kill a channel. In my friend's case, they locked him out, rebranded his entire channel around a Bitcoin variant, made almost all of his videos unlisted, and started a non-stop YouTube live stream promoting a cryptocurrency scam for as long as possible before they got shut down and my friend's channel was returned to him. Ultimately, he was fairly lucky in this situation, but it was still a weekend of heartache, stress, and just extra work that he did not need, when honestly he would have just rather recorded more videos and just gone on with his normal routine. In some other cases I've read about, the compromised channels accrued community guideline strikes for running scams, which makes total sense. A strike is YouTube's best tool for locking a channel down quickly and efficiently, and preventing a channel from posting any new objectionable content for about a week. Unfortunately, once the channels were returned to their rightful owners, YouTube refused to remove the strike, and even reset the duration on the strike, forcing the creator in question to wait even longer before getting back to normal, which is yet more insult and injury for no real reason. Anyway, I realize a lot of this is hypothetical, hearsay, and honestly, plain fear-mongering, but I feel like it's necessary to underline just how badly this sort of thing could go. And since all it takes is one mistake, it's extremely important to be constantly on the lookout for similar scams. While I realize most of you watching this video will likely never have to suss out a scam, some of you might, either for your own YouTube or Twitch channels or some other business that still gets targeted by scammers. And yes, many of these are absolutely no-brainer, obvious signs, but just in case, I'll still mention all of them, no matter how blatant they are. So, here are some of the telltale signs that the email you just received might be a scam. One of the most telltale signs of a scam email is an absolutely terrible English translation, which makes them really easy to spot. They're just not written well, using broken English, strange capitalization, bizarre statements and sentences, and just in general poor readability, to the point where sometimes I can't even tell what they want from me. I'd wager most of these are either fed through a translation program or are cobbled together from pre-built templates, which means that there's a very high likelihood that whoever sent them has no idea how silly they look to English speakers. Or, like most other scams on the internet, they're actually intentionally worded poorly because it's a lot easier to scam people with poor reading comprehension. Next up are the emails where they don't even know who you are or what your stats are. These emails will feel like they were sent to you because your name was scraped from a list, and not because you are at all relevant to the product they're trying to promote. Often, they won't even refer to you by name and will simply call you YouTuber, streamer, or not even reference you once in the entire email by name or any other title. Even more obvious are the ones that will outright ask for your channel name, a link, and monthly statistics, which is just silly. I mean, even if they were a real company, you should never do work with someone who's never heard of you and has no idea what kind of work you even do. That's just poor business, and you should steer clear whether it's a scam or not. If an email you get has mismatched names, it's almost certainly a scam. No joke, I've received an email from a male-named email address with a lady's name at the start of the email, a completely different male name at the end, and an entirely different name in the signature. Emails like these are exceedingly rare, but they do happen, and boy is it a telltale sign that they're a scam. Okay, so this next one is a little bit more insidious and can actually be really hard to spot if you're not looking for it. But if the email that you get looks a bit dodgy, check the email address. Chances are it'll be slightly wrong somehow. Check for extra letters, strange punctuation, or an oddly unprofessional format. For example, cyberpunk2077-pr@gmail.com. I've received emails from very similar addresses and immediately threw them all into the bin, because there's no way that CD Projekt Red would ever use such a trash email address, and also because they don't do direct PR cold calls like that. Alternatively, I will often get spoofed emails like this one, where the source email address may look right, but it's immediately followed by a via email.cz in this case, or something else entirely. So even if you receive an email from pr@ubisoft.com, it might not actually be from them. Oh, hey, there's one now. The most devious form of this scam is where the email is just one letter off of the developer's real email address, i.e. Hollow Knight Silksong instead of Hollow Knight Silksong. These tend to be exceedingly rare, but if you're just kind of skimming an email and the rest of it actually looks pretty much correct, you can very quickly just skim right past a very, very obvious sign like that and have no idea. Okay, so this one's a little bit silly, and honestly is just kind of a good golden rule across the board. But sometimes I get emails with dozens, if not hundreds of email addresses for other content creators in the CC field, and just instantly throw them in the bin. Chances are they just slapped together a basic template and dumped our emails into the send to field without a second thought. But scam or no, if a company sends emails out like that, that's not somebody you want to work with, because that is just, they are not put together. That is incredibly awkward, and no matter what the product is, working with them is just generally going to be a bit of a mess. And honestly, usually the games aren't even that good anyway. A good PR email should include details on what the product is, how it works, what it's for, links to the official website, links to a video, or videos on the product in action, and more. Really anything to help me quickly decide whether to work with a client or not. So when I get a PR blast from some unknown product with limited to no details about what it is, or in some rare cases not even the name for the product itself, I instantly chuck it in the bin. You know, I'm honestly starting to realize that so many of these so-called red flags that I keep seeing might just be extremely lazy PR groups that aren't doing their jobs right. Huh. Oh well, they're probably scams anyway, and even if they aren't, I really should not work with them. One of the biggest hallmarks of a scam is when the sender asks me to continue the conversation on WhatsApp or Telegram. Mainly because, why? I mean, they emailed me first. Why should I switch over to this other communication platform when we're already here? And honestly, I have no idea how these platforms even work to begin with, so I don't really trust communicating over them just in case, you know, there's something wrong with it. And plus, I've never honestly heard of any official PR groups ever using either of these apps, let alone any others. Everybody sticks to email, Twitter DMs, or sometimes rarely Discord if we need to do quick communication for any reason. And honestly, yeah, maybe they are valid platforms, but for some reason almost every bit of spam I've received in 2021 has asked me to use either WhatsApp or Telegram, and they're very firm about it too.
Guitar. Armanda Trimmer at sesnam.cz. To me. Hello, I am Magdalene. And I am a representative of the Fender Music brand. You can find our website on the internet. Our brand is quite popular, but I was tasked with making it closer to ordinary people and letting people know that guitars are not as expensive as they used to be. Our goal was to make a pretty nice and intuitive design for our new guitars. The name of our new guitar is American Ultralux Stratocaster. Your task will be to review our new guitar. We don't care if you can play guitar or not. The most important thing for us is that you have a music channel with the right audience for us.
I don't.
We'll send you a guitar in the mail, and we budgeted $1,000 per person. We will have a few conditions for you. Good publicity attitude, qualitative content on YouTube. When you talk to our manager, you will need to give your residential address and delivery of the goods. Also, if you want to be our face, then contact us about it and tell us about it. Your main job is to show the guitar. No more, no less. No need to improvise. You just say the text that we'll prepare for you, and that's it. If you have your own, then tell the manager about it. He will say whether it's a good idea or not. I hope everything will be clear to you. If you are interested, then write to me.
I honestly don't know if these are scams or just iffy PR groups trying to sucker me into a bad deal, but I've gotten a few dozen requests to promote random junk over the years, from makeup to clothing to diet supplements and guitars. Sure, there is a very real possibility that these were actual requests. Some of them looked quite official, but who in their right mind would ask a male gaming YouTuber who rarely shows his face to promote makeup? Chances are, most were either scams or Hail Mary multi-level marketing deals that would only screw me over, so I always bin these emails as well. Now this one is a big, blatant red flag, when potential sponsorship requests offer goofy large amounts of money. They've been getting more outrageous over time too, originally starting at around double my usual rate to, honestly, thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars, probably in hopes of blinding me with dollar signs so I either sign onto a bad deal or I download their virus scamware. Not that offering ridiculous sums of money costs them a dime either. Most of these sponsors would never pay out anyway, so they can truly offer whatever they want with zero consequences. This is for the more legitimate looking PR emails, for when I've gone through the entire rest of this list and everything seems surprisingly above board, but something still seems off. Sometimes I've received emails where everything really truly seemed fine, until I started Googling around for the person who sent the email to see if they're actually a real human being or not. And there's nothing. No history of past projects, no Twitter, no official website, nothing. Easy example, my buddy Retromation reached out to me a few months ago with an email that looked legitimate. It was written well, had all of the right elements, and while it was a bit stiff, it seemed like a reasonable offer. But something felt off. I looked around for the guy and found absolutely zero information. No website, no Twitter, no social media, nothing. Which meant either they were a terrible PR guy or more likely, not real. But that still wasn't very conclusive, just sketchy. So then I took a screenshot of the tiny little face icon they'd used for the email and reverse image searched it. And instead of leading back to the fake PR manager, it led to an indie developer in Seattle with a completely different name, meaning that our hunch was correct and that the email Rito had received was completely fake. Wisely, he threw that email into the trash and never looked back. So far, this was the sneakiest scam I've ever seen, and there haven't been any like it since. But it's still a very real fear that we will see more scams just like this one in increasing frequency in the future. While these types of scams are often covered by one or multiple of the prior categories, it's still worth mentioning just how many emails I get with offers for extremely early access to the most hyped games of the year. I've received countless offers for Cyberpunk 2077, Hollow Knight Silksong, Minute of Islands, Far Cry 6, and more, well before any of them ever even had a release date. These scams tend to be the best put together too, with actual images, proper English, but rarely, and all the usual links and press blurbs that make up a well-written press blast, so they're a lot harder to immediately spot. Except for the fact that they're unreasonably early and have zero mention of an embargo or an NDA, which are pretty much required for early previews and sneak peeks. The other major tell is that these fake PR emails quickly make their way back to the developers, who will often post a warning on their Twitter, which eliminates any possible ambiguity as to the origins of the email. Okay, so while this is not a very common scam, and in fact is an incredibly niche one, I still feel like I should mention it just because I had know people that have been caught by this one, and it was bad for them. But I call it the play button ploy. And while I personally wasn't sent this scam, or at least I don't remember receiving any email with this scam in it, it's very common for a scammer to send an email to a YouTuber that is nearing 100,000 subscribers, 1 million subscribers, and 10 million subscribers, which, if you aren't aware, are the major milestones where YouTube will send commemorative play buttons. First silver, then gold, then even diamond, which is really cool. And in the case of this scam, creators will be sent this email with a fake login page to claim their play button, usually before they actually hit the milestone to try and capitalize on the hype. This is extra insidious, since they can use this to trick content creators into giving their two-factor authentication code up as well, just by asking for it along with the login. And because YouTube is so slow at sending these emails out, a overeager YouTuber that is so excited to have just hit 100k suddenly just lost their channel. And that's just kind of the worst. So while I almost never ask people to bug other YouTubers, in this case I will. If you know a YouTuber nearing one of these milestones, but specifically 100k, since the higher tiers channels will probably already know about this scam, make sure they know about it, because nothing would poison such a momentous milestone like having their channel hacked instead. And lastly, the ultimate golden rule for checking for scams is that if an offer is just too good to be true, then it probably is. It's kind of a catch-all, but the more attractive an email is, the more likely it is that it's a scam, and so it's just worth being mistrustful of it. And that's all for now. Sort of. There's actually one last thing that I found out about in the middle of recording this video and editing it, like the last 10%. But YouTube and Google actually have a fairly substantive phishing test that you can go through. And phishing is in Phishing, which is effectively another word for all the scams that I've been talking about. But effectively, people trying to get you to click on dodgy links by masquerading as official communications instead. Dropbox, emails, PDFs, so on and so forth. And you guys are seeing it go by in the background now, but I'm going to leave a link in the description below if you yourselves want to try it out. It's going to be the same quiz that you're seeing here, but it's generally worth looking at if this is a concern for you. In the end, despite the sheer volume of garbage sent my way in an attempt to steal my channel, I'm not overly worried about potentially getting caught by any of them. At least as they currently are, there's always the possibility that they'll get even sneakier in the future. I've also picked up a Titan key from Google for extra security, and have a direct contact with YouTube that I can call up if anything goes horribly, terribly wrong. There are probably other better methods that I can also use to protect myself, and when I have enough of them, I'll definitely return for a second video on this topic. But for now, if any of you watching this video are content creators, I sincerely hope that this video was helpful in some way when it comes to parsing potential scam emails. And if you just watched the video for the heck of it, I hope you enjoyed it all the same. If you did, leave me a like, it helps way more than you know, and if you want to see more videos in this vein, let me know in the comments below, as this channel is a bit of a grand experiment of mine, and having feedback on what to focus on next is incredibly helpful. So with that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Oh, and thanks to all my Patreons and YouTube members who made this video possible, even if they had no idea it was coming. And while the credits are rolling, let's do a quick Q&A. Wander, what's your favorite color? Slightly greenish navy blue, turquoise, or purple, depending on my mood. I picked orange for my Wanderbot character so it would stand out, and it does, but it's nowhere close to my favorite. What's your favorite food? Curry, doesn't matter what type. How do you put out so many videos? I have nothing going on in my life, so I spend all time streaming, and then I cut up my videos and put them on YouTube. That's it. Pew!